When you see, you have your voice actor, and a lot of times the animated character starts to take on the look of the actor. How do you work with your animators to create that? Is that something that you...
Good. They're the same crew we've had since Toy Story, so they've had 10 years of experience. They've just gotten better and better and better. You pretty much just stay out of their way. If you've picked the voice right, it'll inspire them. And if you've used it right in the film, it'll really inspire them. And so you tend to just sort of wait and see what they're going to do with it.
We do oftentimes have people ask, why the characters look like the actors, and it's funny because we never design the characters to look like the actors that we've hired. More often, what's happening is that we'll videotape the actors while they're performing, and oftentimes the animators will reference those videos. They'll watch them, and they'll see a lot of mannerisms or little facial gestures, and some of those things may show up in the animation. And somehow, when you hear the voice and you see those gestures, you think that the character looks like the actor, even though we've really done nothing to try to make them look like the actor.
Now, I'd like to also know, with the underwater world, in the stories before that have been CGI films, there was fur was one of the difficulties before. What is this one raising the bar to? What are we now going to see that we haven't seen before?
Well, water was always the holy grail. Water was always the thing that everybody was afraid of, where we couldn't capture it. It was too expensive. It would take forever to compute, and technology's caught up, and experience has sort of grown with the company, and that we finally felt we could sort of tackle that. And I might have sort of advanced this a little faster than everybody was ready for it by saying it's the entire movie and not just a section of the movie. But everybody was up for it, and it was, it's a real thrill to achieve it at the end. It was hard, but we got there.
That looks great. Now, I'd like to know, in terms of the casting, of what were you guys involved in choosing like this? And we're going to have the hammerhead shark, or we're going to have a clownfish.
In terms of which fish are in the film?
What fish or characters did you choose?
Yeah, it really is kind of list making. You sit there at the very beginning, and it sounds kind of mundane, but you just kind of go, hopefully this is the only fish movie I'm going to make. It's going to be the fish movie, so you think of every fish you'd want to see. And you start sort of listing them. And it's really the little kid in you go, I always thought this was cool.
What would be the coolest things to have in the movie?
And then, you don't gratuitously shove them in. You just kind of have that hanging there, and then you start to tell your story, and you kind of keep looking over at that list going, well, maybe that would be a good place for one of these or this kind of a fish.
Okay, and then in choosing the voices as well. What makes you think that Albert Brooks or Ellen? Because Ellen DeGeneres was great in the movie. She was really good. How do you go? What's that process like?
Well, Andrew actually wrote the part of Dory for Ellen DeGeneres. It's something that we've never done before. We've always come up with our characters and then tried to figure out who would be the best people to play them. And this was unique for us.
Yeah, I was early on writing, and I just kind of thought, I thought it would be a guy that would sort of help this Marlin the fatherfish. And the Ellen show was on. This was how long ago it was. And I heard her, the corner of my ear say, change the subject 5 times before a single sentence had finished. And I thought, geez, that's great. That's a great shtick for doing short-term memory. And then I thought, why not Ellen DeGeneres? It can be a female character. It doesn't have to be romantic. That's a stereotype. I think I can do this. And so it just helped me write the character so much to just think of her. I took a risk because I could have painted myself in a corner and not gotten her. And then what am I going to do? So I sent her the first script and called her on the phone. And I said to her, I'm up a creek if you don't take this. And she said, well, I better take it. And that was how short the conversation was.
But so besides Ellen, outside that, how do you know that somebody's going to work?
Well, sometimes what we'll do is well, in the case of Nemo, it was unique because pretty much everyone that Andrew wanted, he got, and he had a pretty firm idea of who he wanted for every part. But sometimes you don't have an idea, and you have to go out there and explore types. And oftentimes what we'll do is we'll take dialogue from a handful of actors from films that they've already done, and we'll put that dialogue up against drawings of the characters just to get a sense. We have to kind of pretend that the character's alive and think, is this voice believable? Is this voice interesting to listen to? Is it going to evoke emotions even though we're not seeing the face of the actor? And we found that some very well-known actors don't have that certain intangible something that makes them good to be a voice actor. But when we find the right person, usually it just clicks and it seems right, and then it's just a matter of approaching them and seeing if they're interested in doing animation.
When I was asked about this after I saw it last night, I said it visually was amazing, but I also thought it was written incredibly well. How did you know that this story would work?
You never do. All the movies were just a big gamble. I really trust my gut. I trust John's gut. I trust Lee's gut. I trust the whole core of us that have worked on all these movies. And if we think it's something we would want to watch, then that's enough for me. And we also spend all those 4 years on all the movies rewriting. And we will keep rewriting until we know we've got the scene working just right. And it's one of the other safer bets that I have with these guys, is that they're never going to get too scared if it's not working and either just stick with it and say, whatever, we're too tired, we're not going to keep trying, or get afraid and not try, or go somewhere else. We're going to just keep working on it because our gut tells us to.
Sometimes, there'll be a group of 4 of us, 3 will think a scene is great, but there'll be one person there saying, it's just not quite there. It just feels like there's something missing. And we trust each other enough to know that there's something there, and so we'll go back in and work on it.
It's like a band, it really is.
Yeah. And I'd like to know, finally, in terms of the story that's animation that started from the 50s and 60s and moved on, has the story, what's been able to be said on animation films or the relationships, has that changed at all? Has that evolved? Does that make sense?
Can you ask that again?
Yeah.
Just in terms of like what is able to be told, like in the 50s and 60s, it was like this heightened little, great world with no real problems, and now you address some, you address some more issues in this one.
Some of that's a sign of the times, I think. I think that the world's grown up fast, and kids grow up faster, and the attitude of, at least in America, it's very cynical. I mean, I feel like I'm a product of the Watergate children, and you don't trust anything, and you don't take things on face value.
But people also deal with their problems now in a way that they didn't used to back then. I mean, things were hidden in families and were kept private, and now we live in a society where people talk about these things, and I think it's overall a healthier thing. And some of the issues that we've tapped into and dealt with in our films are things that I don't think anyone would have even thought to deal with in movies.
So you don't really think about it. You don't really think about it historically at the time. I think we're just we're a product ourselves of whatever time we're in.